Hello and welcome to Eve Basics. I can't promise you a trillion ISK, but I can maybe decipher a little bit of this complex game called Eve Online. In this video we are going to fit and build a Tristan suitable for level 1 security missions. And so this will draw on some of the knowledge from our ship fitting window, and I'm going to show you a little bit about how I fit a ship. Now, I'm not going to build the most perfect ship ever in the world. I'm just going to kind of show you my thought process on how to build it, and it might turn out that it's not amazing, but you kind of learn from your mistakes and you learn as you go. So here we go. I'm going to go to my fitting window, and I am going to see I'm in my capsule, so my capsule shows up here. Isn't it pretty? It has no slots of any kind. I kind of wish it did, but whatever, it's a capsule. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to, just like in our last video, I'm going to type in Tristan, and I'm going to simulate a blank one so I can start planning what I'm going to do to this guy. So remember, the first thing you always do when you build a ship is you got to know what it's bonused for. This guy is bonused for small hybrid turrets and drones, so we're going to start there. The best thing to do to put on this little guy for drones is Hobgoblin drones, because we're in Galente space, and a lot of the things that we're going to fight, the Hobgoblin drones are really good against. If I want to see what these guys do, I can click the info and look at the attributes, and I can look down here and see that they in fact deal thermal damage when they hit stuff. So that's good against the kind of guys around here. There are 4 different races, 4 different drone types, and they each deal a different kind of damage. The Galente Hobgoblins deal thermal damage. So we're going to drag. We're just going to build kind of a Tech 1. I can use Tech 2s, but for newer players, you're not going to be there yet. So I'm going to just drag one down in here, and I'm just going to fill my bay with drones. Depending on your drone skill, you may only be able to launch 1, 2, or 3 of these guys at a time. But if you're Galente, then maximizing your drones is a really good idea. Drones 5 is a good thing to shoot for immediately, because really having 5 of them in space at a time can really up your DPS. But we can already see that even with just these 5 Hobgoblin 1s, my DPS is already 70 DPS. Your mileage may vary. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to find some guns to go up in the turret hardpoints. So we're going to grab... we're going to go into turrets and launchers. We're going to go into hybrid turrets, because remember, we're bonused for those. And in the small ones, we are going to take a quick look. Now, there's a lot of options in here, and it's very easy to get confused and not know what any of this stuff does. You're going to have to explore these things on your own. The best way to explore what the differences between these things are is to right-click on them and say Compare. So you'll notice that these kind of come in groups of 3, at least in the blasters. There's light electron, light ion, light neutron. Then there's anode light electron particle cannon, anode light ion particle cannon, anode light neutron particle cannon. So these are kind of in blocks of 3. But if I put just the basic ones in here, I can compare all of their stats very easily. The most important stat to look at with blasters and guns and stuff is usually damage modifier. So I've checked that. And then you also can check on like the power grid usage and the CPU, and you can see exactly what's going on here. So the damage modifier on the light neutron blaster is 3.675. That's pretty good. Light ion only modifying my damage by 2.9 times, and light electron, you wimpy little thing, only 1.8 times. But there's a cost, there's a trade-off. The light neutron uses a ton of CPU compared to the other two, and a decent amount of power grid, although it's only 1 more power grid than its little light ion buddy, which isn't too bad. So also the estimated price. So we're actually going to just take a couple of these out of here, put them up here. So we can see that that affects our power grid. We've got it filled not quite halfway, and about 1/8 of our CPU there. Not too shabby for a couple of guns. So we're going to keep those on there for now. So we could fit this Tristan with rails. Rail guns are like blasters, and in the damage that they do, not the amount, but the type of damage that they do, but they have a much longer range. So this is what our boat looks like with the light neutron blasters. Let's see what it looks like with rails on it. We'll just take the 100mm rail guns and put some of those on there. So we're using, it uses about the same amount of resources, maybe a little bit more power grid, but these are the rail guns and what they look like. You'll notice that if you hover on them, you can see the fall off range and the optimal range. the optimal range of these is if your ship is 15 kilometers from something else, these will hit 100% of the time as long as tracking isn't an issue. And there's a couple of other things, but for the most part, as long as your ship is within 15 kilometers of the thing it's firing at, it'll hit pretty frequently. So this is an option too if I kind of want my Tristan to be out from stuff, but I don't want it to be out from stuff. I want to go close. The closer you go with these guns, like blasters, generally the more damage you're going to deal. So we're going to put the blasters back on there, and we're going to check that out. All right, so high slot, we're going to leave this empty for now. It can't be another gun because we're out of hard points, so we'll come back to this later. We'll see what we put in there. Next thing we want to put on our little guy is some sort of propulsion module because we don't want to slow boat it everywhere. Right now we can only go 400 meters per second, which is really fast for a battleship, but super slow for a frigate. So we're just gonna. I always feel the need for speed on the little guys. Although you know what, today we're just gonna play it nice and easy. We're gonna put an afterburner on here, just a regular old 1M afterburner. And now when this is going, you can get around at 920, much more respectable. Your friends won't laugh at you anymore. Now, this little guy is getting pretty big on the power grid, so we're up over halfway with just 3 modules. Now, the next thing we want to do is make sure we don't get blapped by stuff. So we need to fit some kind of tank on this. What you'll notice up here is that the Tristan is bonused for the tracking speed of the small hybrid turret and the hit points and tracking speed of the drones. At nowhere up here does it say damage. So I'm feeling like this thing probably is going to need a couple of damage mods to boost it up over the edge here. And damage mods go down in the bottom. So what that means is that my tank is probably going to have to come from my mid slots. This is just my thought process. There are a billion thought processes on every ship in EVE. Yes, we all know. Please do not flame me. So I'm thinking my tank is going to have to come from my mids, which means I'm going to have to shield tank this thing because shield tanks come from the mid. So we're going to go into the shield and we are going to grab a small shield extender. Now, you'll notice that when I pop this on, my hit points and my shield will go up and my recharge rate will go up to 4 hit points a second. That's abysmal. We might try putting another small one on here, but I think for now this is probably okay. We might come back to this later. I'm not in love with it. But let's go to move to our low slots. Now we're going to want our drones to do some more damage. So we're going to put on a drone damage amplifier down there, and if you watch my DPS, it goes from 70 up to 80. 10 damage a second, not too shabby for this stage in the game. Do we want another one? I don't know. Maybe. We've got the capacitor for it, and it gives us another 10 DPS. So I think that seems pretty good to me. I'm going to pop 2 of these guys down here. And then I'm going to put on something that I feel like almost every ship should have one of in the low slots, which is something called a damage control. Now this is not a DPS unit. This is an across-the-board resist giver. Right? So let's take a look at what this thing does. This is one of my favorite modules in the game. It gives you across-the-board shield resists, across-the-board armor resists, and across-the-board hull resists. When I pop this thing on, let's offline it for a second to see what my stats look like without it. My effective hit points go from 3,100 to 3,733, another 600, which on a frigate like this is pretty good. So let's take a look at what we got going on so far. Only 91 DPS. Remember, in order to see the actual DPS of your guns, you have to load them up with ammo. And basically, if you right-click and say Show Info and go to Used With, it will show you all the ammo types. There are a zillion of them. These are the types of ammo that will fit into your little blasters. Don't try cramming these in just any old gun. Every gun has its own kind of ammo. And even small blasters, light blasters, medium blasters, heavy blasters, they all use different sizes. This is size S ammo, so it fits into small stuff. There's all kinds of specialized ammo, and there's faction ammo, and there's all kinds of stuff. So I guess for early PvE stuff, Antimatter Charge, you can't go wrong with it. It's got the highest damage of all the ammos, but it's got the lowest range. But that's okay, because we're going to get close anyway. So we will blap some people with that. Once we put that in, we see that our DPS shoots up to a respectable 137.7. So our drones are giving us 91 of that. Our turrets are giving us 47 of it. And that's good. That's good DPS. We can get away with that. anywhere between 100 and 140 will get you through level 1 security missions pretty easily. So I feel good about our DPS, and I feel good about our propulsion. I still don't feel amazing about our tank. I mean, we've only got the small shield extender and the damage control. We've got an extra empty mid slot here. So let's see what happens if I shift drag this down here, put another one on. So that gets us up into the 4,500 EHP range. That's pretty good. Our recharge is still pretty abysmal. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to look to our rig slots to kind of help us out here. There's a couple of ways to use our rig slots here. The types of guys that we will be fighting will be most likely dealing thermal and kinetic damage just because of the area of space that we're in. This will vary for your area of space. Know what kind of enemies you're going to be fighting and act accordingly. But here in Galente space, it's mostly kinetic and thermal stuff coming at me in most of these missions. So I'm going to look to my rigs to solve that problem. So I'm going to look in my rigs, and we are shield tanked, so I'm going to look in my shield rigs. I have a couple of options in here. I have Defense Field Extender, which is just straight up more shield hit points and more recharge. I have a Purger, which is just straight up more recharge, although all of this is increasing my signature radius, and I tend to prefer the Extender over the Purger. In the early stages, this is 7 hit points a second, this is 8, like that's not a huge difference, but this is an extra 300 EHP. So what we can also do here is look to our thermal shield reinforcer, which raises our thermal resistance from a measly 26% up to a 49%. So that's more in line and balanced with our kinetic. So I'm going to put one of these on the ship. So I think that's a pretty good choice for that slot. And I think if we put on just one of these Defense Core Field Extenders, that'll make me feel real good. We're pushing 5,000 EHP. We have just cracked 1,000,000 ISK, which is not that hard. Remember, kids, it's just a few project discoveries away. And this is a very buildable ship. Now, we still have a couple empty spaces on here. I'm still not in love with double small shield extender ones. But for now, that's, for the early stages, that's what we're going to do. I would love to have a medium on here instead. So I guess the next thing I'm going to try is I'm going to try to unfit these, and I'm going to try to break some rules. So it won't let me even search for medium shield extenders right now because I believe it doesn't have enough resources. So I'm going to uncheck this box. Into the danger zone. Boop. And now I can look for medium shield extenders, and I can try to pop one on. So here's what's going to happen. If I pop this on, it's flashing at me. It doesn't like me. I don't have enough power grid to make this happen. I really want it to happen because not only does this free up another mid slot, it puts me at about the same place that I was with 2 of the small ones. And so I think what I'll do is I will leave this unchecked, and I will try to solve my power problems via my last rig slot. I can also solve them down here. I don't really want to sacrifice my DPS or my damage control, so I'll only do that as a last resort. Let's see if I can get it taken care of with my rig. So we'll sort for rigs, and we are going to go to engineering rigs. Inside here is the ancillary current router, which doesn't look like it's going to solve my problem. It puts me from negative 6.7 to negative 2.3. So let's go to my next thing in my bag of tricks here. I will leave that blank for now, and I will actually get rid of, what happens if I offline this? Yeah, so even if I put this current router here and then get rid of one of these, I still don't have enough power. So I'm going to see if I can get a different thing down here. So we're going to pop off one of these little guys, so sorry, and we are going to try to find something called a micro auxiliary power core. This is this is great. Check that out. Now putting one of these on solves both of these issues, and I have lots of room to spare here. So I don't think I can fit another medium shield extender on, but I certainly can put something here, and I can certainly put something here. So let's just let's check that back up now, and we will try to fit our third rig. Now that our problems have been solved with our power grid and our CPU, we can probably just put another defense field extender on here. and now we're up at 5,400, 9 hit points a second. Our DPS is a little bit lower, but you know, you got to make sacrifices. So the last things we got to look for is some kind of high slot. So we will look into a few things here. We don't need any of that. We don't need any of that. We don't need harvesting equipment. We don't need any hauler armor. We don't need scan probe launchers really. Nope, remote shield. Smart bombs are fun, but useless for this kind of application because they're mostly for killing drones, and none of the NPCs use drones really, which is a shame. And I can't fit another turtle launcher, so I think this high slot just stays empty for now. So let's look to our mid, see if we can fill that in. You can totally have empty slots on your boat, no big deal. The other thing that we want to do too is make sure that we're putting ammo in our cargo hold so that when this guy pops out, we make sure that, hey, he's just already fit with ammo when we build it. So let's take a look for something we can put in the mid. E-war stuff, stasis webs, never a bad thing. Just in case something's moving really, really fast and we want to slow it down. This is not bad. It totally fits in there. And it looks like with that, we don't even have to worry about our cap. We've been completely cap stable through this entire thing. We can do stuff like sensor boosters or cap rechargers. We don't even need to worry about cap rechargers because we're already cap stable. There's no reason to have those on there. Propulsion stuff, we don't care about that, or scanning equipment. We could put a small shield extender on. Gosh, that would really beef us up. Another 1,000 hit points just for that, and another 3 hit points per second from the thing. I did not think it was going to have that big of an impact, but you know what? That's what we're going with. So here is our cap stable, 127.2 DPS Tristan that can fly at 920 meters per second, and that is a stunningly beefy ship for only 1.7 mil. Remember, kids, it's just a few project discoveries away. So I'm going to save this as Eve Basics Tristan. Product placement. And I've remembered to put my ammo in my hold. I put my drones in there. It's got everything going in here. And now what we can do is we can build it. And we will do that in the next video.